Discussions about human service organization mergers have become much more commonplace among practitioners, researchers, and funders. In this abridged Hubert Project material, we will explore the variety of reasons a nonprofit organization may consider a merger, how to assess an organization's readiness, and the challenges of merger implementation. A full e-case on this topic is available online at www.hubertproject.org. In 2010, the boards of the Family Partnership and Reuben Lynn Family Services began considering a merger of the two organizations. At the time, Diane Halsey was CEO of Reuben Lynn, and Molly Greenman was CEO of the Family Partnership. The two organizations had similar and compatible missions. Reuben Lynn Family Services had a mission to provide a comprehensive network of education and support services for children from early childhood through high school graduation who live in extreme poverty and family dysfunction, to be the last best hope for the future of these children. The Family Partnership's mission was building strong families, vital communities, and capable children. Through consulting, education, and advocacy, the Family Partnership helps families in need and empowers them to solve problems. There are many available tools to help organizations that are considering a merger. This toolkit, developed by Aurora Consulting, provides one way for organizations to assess the incentives and pressures to merge and the readiness of both organizations for a merger. The toolkit can be completed by one individual or multiple individuals in the organization. When considering a merger, it is important to identify the internal and external factors that motivate an organization. The first part of the toolkit will help to identify these factors, which may include improving the quality, efficiency, or range of work, financial concerns such as lowering overhead costs and long-term sustainability, increasing the competitiveness and visibility of the organization, bolstering the resources and staffing for the organization and preparing for the future, and adapting to environmental and external changes in policy or funding. It is also important to evaluate whether or not these concerns can be addressed by any alternatives. For the heads of Reuben Lynn Family Services and the Family Partnership, there were many motivations for merging.
We started talking with Reuben Lynn Family Services in 2010. In particular, Reuben Lynn has a great legacy and a strength in early childhood education, so the programs that they delivered would help us meet our strengthen our education component. As an organization, they had a tremendous strength in multicultural staffing and leadership in particular. That was a strategic direction and hope for the Family Partnership.
Reuben Lynn first began talking about mergers as a result of a strategic planning process that they went through in 2009. It was completed in late 2009. During the strategic planning process, we actually developed a new mission that was around really targeting and looking at breaking the cycle of generational poverty. And we knew at that time that we were doing very strong on the early childhood component, which was very important in breaking the cycle of generational poverty, but we really didn't, after children entered kindergarten, we really didn't have a lot for them. And so we were looking for partners that could fill in that continuum of services from taking it from kindergarten all the way through high school graduation.
Parts 2 and 3 of the toolkit walk through different factors to evaluate an organization's readiness for a merger, such as support of staff, board members, and funders, prioritization, flexibility, adaptability, and planning, merger resources, including financial stability, staff time, and organizational support, compatibility of the organizations, and vision and mission for the future of the organization. On November 18, 2010, the directors of Reuben Lynn Family Services and the Family Partnership formally announced their merger. Following the merger, the new organization retained the Family Partnership name. The merger announcement outlined the strategic objectives and stakeholder benefits for the new organization. These included broader geography and continuum of services, ability to serve all age groups, more community partners, greater staff expertise and diversification, and increased organizational visibility. A central component of merger implementation involves the blending of organizational structures, programs, and staffing. See how the Family Partnership and Reuben Lind combine their organizations. Before the merger, the Family Partnership was led by President and Chief Executive Officer Molly Greenman. The next tier included the Vice President of Development, the Chief Financial Officer, and the Vice Presidents of the Behavioral Health and Family and Community Program areas, all of whom oversaw the smaller, more specific programs such as youth services. Meanwhile, Reuben Lind Family Services was led by Executive Director Diane Halsey. The broad programmatic efforts of the organization, including senior in-center, unified therapy, and in-home services, were overseen by program directors. The smaller initiatives, such as Children's First, were grouped within those broader programs. After the merger, the president and executive director positions were replaced with the chief executive officer, held by Molly Greenman, and the chief coordinating officer, held by Diane Halsey. The merger also involved the addition of a vice president of early childhood services. All of the outreach programs, including Children's First and Youth Services, are now grouped under the three broader areas of family and community programs, early childhood services, and behavioral health. Beyond structures and programs, mergers often involve blending different organizational cultures into one. Molly Greenman discusses the shared values of Reuben Lind and the Family Partnership.
The two cultures shared some similarities and strengths that were really, really important. I think that the Family Partnership is a legacy, social work legacy organization. We do a lot of mental health, and that has a whole different look and feel. Reuben Lind Family Services is a more community-based organization, and welcoming people into the community has a little bit different feel. But what each organization shared is a real commitment to quality and excellence. So I think that was really a shared value around excellence and professionalism. I think there's a shared value around being strength-based organizations, and people were really excited about it.
The work of merging organizations is not over once the paperwork is signed. Diane Halsey and Molly Greenman discuss what their organizations might have done differently once the two organizations merged and the next steps for the future.
When people are talking about mergers, what I'm really experiencing now, a year and a half later, is the assumption that the merger is done after a year. We find that there's still significant need for investment of time and resources into integrating programs and staff and culture and building a shared culture.
After the merger, there were a lot of things to consider. You signing the dotted line is only the beginning, it's not the end. So there was a lot of considerations to do with staff. And to be honest, I think one of the reasons why I stayed on, I believe, is because I wanted to make sure that the staff that were coming from Reuben Lind didn't feel abandoned, and that they also felt comfortable with this new organization. All of our board members were invited to continue on to the board, which definitely was the right decision. It's a different board than the one that we had at Reuben Lind, so I think that there were some adjustments that had to be made. I think the one thing that I might have done differently is to maybe have a really serious conversation, with Molly and maybe some of the board members about how we did operate and how it might be different from the way the Family Partnership Board operates, just to prepare them and to make sure that board members felt comfortable and felt like there was a place for them.
To me, the success of this merger is if we can really continue to move forward and capitalize on the increased program strength and the holistic continuum of services that we have for people living at or on the edge of poverty. And secondly, to continue to maintain and develop and really move forward on our vision of a multicultural organization with strong leadership and quality infrastructure. We're just moving into what we're calling leap to performance, which is really how do we become a high-impact, high-performing organization.
Merging human service organizations is a complex process that requires thoughtful implementation. The Merger Toolkit can be used by nonprofits to help facilitate that process. For more information on nonprofit management or other public affairs topics, check out the Hubert Project at www.hubertproject.org, a Hubert H. Humphrey School of Public Affairs initiative to transform public affairs education.